Are you thinking about moving to Cohasset, Massachusetts? Maybe you're considering moving to the South Shore area in general. Whatever the case is, you found the perfect video. I've lived here on the South Shore of Boston for over 20 years. I actually lived in Cohasset for 7 of those years. And just the other day, I was catching up with an old girlfriend who we raised our kids together in Cohasset as if we hadn't missed a beat, even though like 5 or 6 years have gone by where we just touch base occasionally. It felt in this moment while we were having this conversation as if we could have just been walking the kids to the playground. So I had to make this video because after raising my 3 kids here, and also now my brother and sister-in-law living in the same town and raising their 9-year-old son, I wanted to share everything you need to know before moving to Cohasset. In this video, I'll be talking about things to do, the schools, retail, restaurants, and much more. I hope you enjoy. Hey, my name is Katie Norton. I'm a realtor here in Massachusetts, and this channel is meant to help you know all about what it's like living on the South Shore. So subscribe for more content, and if you are thinking about moving to the South Shore area, please give me a call. I'd love to help you and your family. Let's jump into everything Cohasset, Massachusetts. When you think about Cohasset, the first thing that's going to come to mind is that it's a true beach town. Obviously, because it's right on the shore, the water is just part of the lifestyle here. The other thing to know about Cohasset is there's not really a lot of tourism. It's such a great place for the residents, by the residents, and in that way, it's a little exclusive, but it really has a quaint charm to it that when you live there, you just don't want to leave. The population is actually just 8,400 as of 2020. It has grown a little bit since the pandemic hit, where we had an influx of people move down because having the remote option of work, why wouldn't you want to work and live in this beach town? As you can see here on the map, this is Cohasset relative to Boston's location. It sits right on the South Shore, which is the southern part of the Massachusetts Bay. Here on this map, you can see it takes almost an hour by car to get in the city, also by train. And in fact, it's a little quicker to get into the city by train than by car, which makes this a great commuter town to live in. You can also get into the city by taking the ferry out of Hingham Harbor, which you'll know if you watch my Hingham video. For more information on any of the commuter options, I would say check out the video that I did on Hingham, and it explains in detail all the different ways to get from this area of the South Shore into Boston. So if we zoom in a little bit more on Cohasset, we can see that it's just directly to the east of Hingham. And if you continue going down the shoreline on the southeast, you'll hit Situate, Norwell, Duxbury, Marshfield. So it's all in that grouping of really beautiful South Shore towns. And connecting all of them is Route 3A, which is basically the way you would get from any of these South Shore towns following the water all the way into Boston. It's really a scenic commute that a lot of people take the time to do. Now that I've given you a brief overview of Cohasset, now let's talk about the schools. According to niche.com, Cohasset, Massachusetts is rated A- for public schools. This is a really good grade considering there's only 8,400 people in the town. And since I've raised all 3 of my sons in this public school system, I can talk firsthand about what an amazing place it is to send your children to every single day. I'll start with the elementary schools. The way the elementary schools are set up is there's 2 buildings on one campus. The first building is called the Osgood School. That houses the K through 2nd grade. So kindergarten to 2nd graders are all in this one school. Then when you move up to 3rd grade, you go to the Deer Hill Elementary School, and that's 3rd through 5th grade. The way this is important is it can really focus on these different age groups, and the teachers and the staff and everyone at each building is really hyper-focused on that age group. I think it's one of the most beautiful things about raising kids in Cohasset. As we all know, once they graduate 5th grade, they're headed to the middle school, and this is a whole different ballgame. So basically, it's set up similarly. 6th, 7th, and 8th are in one building, and 9 through 12 are in the other building, but it's called the Cohasset Middle High School. So you use the same campus for the sports and different things. This just allows more cohesiveness from their middle school to high school transition. It is one of the fun quirks of living in a small town like Cohasset. So if by any chance any of your kids like sports, like mine did, you see them on the same fields growing up from the 6th grade all the way up till their senior year of high school. It is a really special experience. So having said all that, it's really important to note that one of the best parts about this small community that you have is your kids will start out in the kindergarten together playing these little sports or doing theater together or going to science camp together or going to the community rec center together. And they will grow and evolve together together. They'll find new friendships. They'll go back to their old friendships. It's really a wonderful way to grow up as a child, to be graduating in a small class. Typically, the graduating class is about 100 students. And when you think about those same 100 students, most of these kids can be traced all the way back to kindergarten in the same school. So it's really a wonderful just community aspect. And if you watched the intro to my video, I was just catching up with someone about this exact thing. With all that said, if you are looking to send your kids to private schools, there are plenty of options within a short distance. You know, it just occurred to me, I really need to make an actual video just about the private schools options for the South Shore, because there are so many great options and I want to really give each one the dues that it deserves. But if you have any pressing questions about this, just feel free to reach out and I can give you some insight specifically, especially since it's summertime and we're getting close. Now let's jump into things to do in Cohasset, Massachusetts. I think I'll start with the most obvious one. Because most of Cohasset has shoreline, it is such a beach town. What I mean by beach town, I should be clear about this because it's not just a town on the water. This is a town that really loves its beaches, and it's a community where you go to the beach to be around other people in your community. So I can be a little bit more specific about this. Sandy Beach is the beach it's a private beach, but it's private to Cohasset residents. So if you're a resident, it's technically your public beach. Anyone can go there. It's part of the utilities that you pay. You get a sticker, and that sticker allows you to go to the dump and it allows you to go to the beach. If you're a non-resident of Cohasset, there are ways to get into Sandy Beach, but you have to go through a resident to get it. The great thing about Sandy Beach is these Friday night little beach parties they have. And basically it kicks off Memorial Day weekend. It goes all the way to Labor Day. It's never the same people. It's always just something to do Friday before sunset. There's food trucks. A lot of people will order pizza and have it delivered right to the beach. Kids just take off and run. Parents get to be by themselves. Business deals get done on these nights. It's really something for everyone. So if you know anything about Cohasset, Jerusalem Road and Atlantic Ave meet in the middle, and that's where Sandy Beach is located. The wonderful thing about Jerusalem Road and Atlantic Ave is there's a start and a finish, and it's about 3 or so miles long, and a lot of people love to use it for walking, biking, just long scenic drives. There's, sometimes a group of motorcyclists. Like, it's just really a vibrant place to go for a long walk and see. It's all along the coastline the whole entire way. A lot of Sunday afternoons we would find ourselves just walking out of the house and going for that long walk. And before you know it, we were meeting up with other people that we knew from our town. On any given day, you're going to see a bunch of cyclists on Jerusalem Road just doing that loop. It was like a great exercise loop for a lot of cyclists. And I think about 15, maybe 20 years ago, a guy in town started the Cohasset Triathlon. He realized that this community just loved all this outdoor activity. There was a place to swim, there was a place to ride your bike, and there was a place to run. So he created the Cohasset Triathlon. It's still going on today. It usually happens in June. It's a great community event. I can't say enough about this fun event for all ages. If you've had just enough about the beach, since you live on the beach, maybe you want to go for a bike or a walk in the woods or in a trail. The good thing about Cohasset is on the south end of Cohasset, we have a portion of Wampatuck State Park. It's a wonderful place to go for miles and miles of bikes or walking trails, easy parking. It's easy to get to. You can let your dogs off leash and they can run around. So this was definitely a go-to place a few times a week for myself and a couple of my other friends. We would go for long walks. We would solve the world's problems, and then we would get back to our regular everyday life. And if you're into golf or tennis, we have that as well here in Cohasset. The Cohasset Golf Club and the Cohasset Tennis Club are both private clubs. They're very easy to get into and very community friendly and accommodating. It's a wonderful place to socialize, do business, play golf, play tennis. There's plenty to do for everyone in either of those places. And if you need more information about either of those places, I belong to both, so I'd be happy to fill you in. All right, now we are going to talk about the retail options in Cohasset. And it's important to note, as I've talked about a few times, that this is a very small, quaint village town. And one of the best parts about it is the downtown historic village area. And that has really had a retail resurgence in the past 10 or 15 years. There's some really awesome, unique shops. Important to note that these are owned by local business owners. So basically, if you're living in Cohasset and shopping in Cohasset, you're supporting other Cohasset residents. There's a few great little stores that I love to shop at. My favorite thing to do was to go to Atlantic Bagel Company, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a little breakfast and lunch spot that only serves bagels at any given time time on a half day from school, you'll see a whole group of teenagers coming in and that's their little social hangout. I still drive down to Hingham or Cohasset to go to Atlantic Bagel Shop, and they are both owned by individual owners. So again, it's just really supporting these small businesses and keeping these businesses going in these small towns. So I love the historic village shopping in Cohasset, but another option was over on 3A, where there was almost like this little unique strip mall place. And basically it was multi-use, and it had the Social Athletic Club. So that was the gym I would go to. It had a juice bar. It actually had a place that sold bathing suits and fun vacation stuff to do. Also, I could grab Olympus Grill, which is Greek food, and bring that home for dinner. At the very corner of this little multi-use space was a little space called Cohasset Work Center, which was a place for entrepreneurs and different people to go and run their businesses, but have that social access, other people that they might need if they're just running their own business. So I really loved that area, and I loved to support those businesses as well. And any given day, you could see anyone you knew in any one of those stores. So let's just go back to the waterfront area for a minute. This was well known as a wedding venue and a hotel for 50 years. It was the Kimball Beach Resort, and it was Atlantica. These were places that every single summer, every single weekend, there would be weddings going on, because Cohasset is such a beautiful place that people would raise their families in this town, and then they would want to have their kids get married here. They would want to host conferences for their businesses, all different sorts of uses for this Kimball Beach Resort and Atlantica. Very recently, there's some new building going on. It's called the Cohasset Wharf. It is going to be a similarly structured place in that it's going to be multi-use, hopefully a wedding venue. There's going to be some condos. There's going to be some hotel options. So stay tuned for that. I can answer more questions as that gets further along in its progress. But that is going to be just another beautiful addition to this wonderful town. One of the other things to note is the Red Lion Inn, which is also another very popular wedding venue in the area. And this just has a completely different vibe than that waterfront wedding venue. It's going to be gardeny and old barn-like. If you need more information on that, you can definitely comment and I will give you more on that place, because that is near and dear to my heart. I'm willing to bet that there will probably be even more wedding venues that pop up, because it is really the only tourist attraction in this beautiful, quaint, small town, and people just want to bring people to Cohasset to experience it. So the wedding venues that have been there have been very successful. And as someone who lived there was nothing more special than going through town, just thinking you're going in to get a bagel or something, and having a huge wedding party, walking around the green and doing their photos, and just knowing what a special day that really was going to be for them. So as we were talking about retail, and there's plenty to find in Cohasset, because it's such a small town, you're not going to find streets and streets and streets of retail and big box stores and things like that, but it's so convenient for other places that are nearby. In one of my other videos, I talked a lot about the Hingham Shipyard, the Derby Street shops, and just the Hingham downtown area. And those are just a little bit larger, a little bit more retail friendly stores. So if you need to check those out, you can access them within, 15 minutes at the most of a drive. Also, if you go the other way, depending on which side of Nantucket you live on, if you live on the north side, you are super close to Nantucket Beach. Nantucket Beach has that old beach vibe. So you can find surf shops and pizza shops and places to just go and have like a fried clam roll, things that give you that sort of old beach vibe that you might be looking for. So that would be Nantucket Beach. On the far end of Nantucket Beach, you're going to find the surf area. That's a surf school, and this is where all the really experienced surfers go. And one of the best things to do when a storm is approaching, you head right down there and you can sit and watch for hours. Watch these surfers just riding these waves. It's really something special. And bear in mind, you are still just about 1 hour south of Boston. So whatever retail store you need, whatever sporting events you want to go to, it is all at your fingertips. Even if you're living an hour south of Boston, really easy to access Boston from Cohasset. Now let's talk about the real estate market in Cohasset, Massachusetts. According to Zillow.com, the average home value in Cohasset, Massachusetts is $1.4 million. So during the COVID pandemic, a lot of people ended up moving to Cohasset. For a long time, people thought Cohasset might be too far to commute if they had to be in Boston every single day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But during the COVID pandemic, there was a little insurgents to get into Cohasset. And when people started moving in, they realized that they could have the best of both worlds. They could be in this beautiful community that they loved, and then they could get back into Boston really easily. And maybe they didn't have to go all 5 days. Maybe they could do a little bit of remote work work. So people have adjusted both ways. Some people are still fully remote in Cohasset. Some people are back to 5 days a week in Cohasset. Cohasset's not the only place that saw a surge during the pandemic. There are a lot of other towns that saw a surge in 2020. And a lot of those same towns plateaued around 2022 when people got back to normal and started living their lives again. But the difference is, as you can see by this screenshot, Cohasset has continued to increase in their price value since 2019 all the way to 2024. And I actually do not see this ending. There are a lot of reasons, as I've been listing all video long, for why the lifestyle of Cohasset is at a premium. When you're thinking about where you want to live in Cohasset, there are plenty of options. Obviously, the first one is anywhere along the water or within walking distance to the beach. These are some of the most obvious reasons to move to Cohasset, but there are a couple others. One would be to live near any of the schools within walking distance. There are great neighborhoods, parks, and places to run your dogs, and the library and all these different areas. Living near one of the schools is of a great value. The third would definitely be that downtown historic area. You're going to get these quaint, older Victorian homes that have sometimes been renovated into a little bit more of the updated luxuries that we need in today's world, but they still have that old charm that we're all looking for in a town like Cohasset. And so there's really a lot of different options of different styles of home, but also different places to live. So if you're thinking about moving to Cohasset or the South Shore area, please reach out. I hope this video helped you to see why so many people call Cohasset home. And if you have any further thoughts or questions, please drop it in the comments because I would love to help. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video.